Hello and welcome to another weekly update. Another lovely day here in the UK. I'm determined not to let summer go too early, and plenty of things to talk about. It's funny, we're coming up to the countdown for Ignite now, and often that means that there's less stuff coming out, but actually right now it feels like there's more stuff coming out, which is really good. I think it makes for an exciting Ignite, because if they're getting all this stuff out now, there must be even more stuff that needs to come out at Ignite, so that's very exciting. So alright, so the first thing I wanted to call your attention to was a really good blog post. Now, I skimmed this article and made a note to talk about it today, and then went back to read it properly just now, and it seems that the bot framework blog is actually down, which is a really good reason why you don't deploy stuff on a Friday, especially when Monday is a US bank holiday or public holiday in the US. Or maybe they'll get it sorted, I don't know. But from what I gathered when I skimmed it, it's a good blog post about presenting and giving a good user sign-in experience. And sign-in and auth is one of those things that's really important for bot framework, and when you're writing bots, and unless you're writing kind of really trivial bots, one of two things are true. Either you need to know who the user is in order to provide them personalized content, and make your bot useful to them, recognize them when they come back and all these sort of things, or you're serving up content that is in some way protected, and that is true even if you're writing internal bots, because the way bot framework works, even if everything you're doing is entirely internal and the bot you're writing is not meant for consumption outside of your organization, you still need to host it somewhere where the bot framework engine can see it, and that means public. So even if you're sideloading your bot and you're not putting it in the store, you still need to expose a public endpoint that the bot framework can see. So for all those reasons, you need to have some kind of authentication for your users for that content. So having a sign-in experience is really important for most things that you do in the bot framework, for most experiences. And so it makes sense to make it as nice as possible. We all like the kind of pop-up auth stuff that goes on, and there's a couple of different ways you can do it. There's loads of blog posts talking about it. It's good to have a definitive one from the bot framework blog, because stuff moves so quickly that a lot of the blogs and the articles and the Stack Overflow posts out there are a little bit older now and not necessarily relevant for the state of the world today. So it's good to have a kind of roundup post like this going through the best way to do it, the different approaches, and with some sample code as well. So that's good. Hopefully by the time you see this and you go and follow the link, the website will be back up again. If not, this whole intro by me has been for nothing. Alright, so other information and other news. So we saw a blog post in the week, not particularly dev related this, but a kind of a blog post in the week. The Teams is now a complete meeting and call solution, and there's been lots of chatter about this. It was first announced at Build, and now it's come out officially in a blog post, and I'm not going to touch on it too much because I think it misses the overall point, but let's think about it from a development perspective. So is Teams a complete meetings and calling solution for developers? No, I don't think it is, but I also don't think that you can compare the old world with the new world side by side and expect complete parity of developer experiences. So Teams is new world, so it's web first, it's microservices, it's a SaaS based model, it's all online, it's Chromium, and it's all these things. The developer experiences that live there will be very different from the developer experiences we've come to expect from a server based solution, and that's not a bad thing or a good thing, it's just a thing. What's important is, can developers write applications that get stuff done for users, that make users happy, that achieve business processes, that allow the communications platform to act as a conduit to get stuff done. And I think that is true today. I think there's more that can be done, I think there's gaps that are being filled kind of as we go. This is a journey we're all on. Teams didn't exist 3 years ago, so yeah, this is absolutely still a journey, but I think it's exciting to see the speed at which that journey evolves from the product team and the developer experiences they're building out. I think teams launched with a very rich set of developer experiences for doing things, so bots and connectors and tabs and extensions and all these other things enabled developers to make teams that kind of center of business workflow. And now we're seeing additional capability come on, the stuff announced and talked about at Build, new APIs and new capabilities. So I think that's all exciting. That's my takeaway. I don't want to get too bogged down in kind of feature X versus feature Y. I know it's important for people. It's not particularly important for me as a developer. All right, other news quickly. Well, importantly, if you live in Australia and Japan, hello to you guys. You now will get your own data residency in data center for Teams. So that's important if you have customers where the data needs to reside in location, onshore, or if it's government or anything like that. So not particularly dev focused, but it might have been a blocker to a particular dev project. So it's good to know that Australia and Japan, data residency in Teams for new tenants. I think if you've got an existing tenant, go have a word with Microsoft to see what's possible. But for new tenants, you get the choice of data residency in Australia and Japan. And then finally, there's a kind of a generalist blog post which highlights a lot of the things I've been saying recently, which is good. I'm not putting it in here to be kind of smug and say, look, I told you so. It's a nice validation of, I might have got it totally wrong, so it's a validation that's not true, but also it means if it's being picked up by this relatively mainstream media outlet, then it's a real thing, and it's kind of increasing. And the title is, this is not your father's Microsoft, which I've said a couple of times, that what it's saying is the stuff I've been saying about AI and machine learning, Microsoft focusing in on being a platform, delivering on those kind of goals, not trying to chase necessarily the competition, but I think by concentrating on being their own people. And it's really new Microsoft, since Satcher's been there, that kind of change. Microsoft is now much more forward looking, it's much more willing to take chances on things, it's much more willing to push the envelope, it's much more willing to provide opportunities for developers to go and create amazing things. It's the stuff it's opened up in AI, machine learning is been phenomenal, and that push has been huge, and that's been led by Satya. I want to say new Microsoft is also irrelevant and playful and almost whimsical in a way, and I mean those as good things, and I need to have a think about what I mean by that. And it's become the company that Google was 10 years ago. Google was the new startup. It was cool, it was irreverent, it would just do things, like it was bucking the trend and just doing stuff, not taking years to do it, just doing it overnight, putting it out there, seeing what people thought and iterated on it. They were the good guys, they were the cool guys, everybody wanted to work there, everybody wanted to use their software. I think that's where Microsoft is now. Like you wouldn't look at Microsoft today and say, gosh, they're clearly a 40-year-old company. You wouldn't say that at all. They are playing with the young startups. They are pushing envelopes. They are doing a good job of being agile and reactive and responsive and playful and all the rest of it. And I think that's really good. I think it's it makes me excited for future Microsoft. It makes me excited for the next couple of years. It makes me excited for Ignite. So all those are good things, but that's an interesting blog post I think to go and read, because it covers a lot of the things I'm thinking and puts them on paper in a way that's a lot better than I could, because it's being written by real journalists. It's good. Anyway, I'm at time, so have a great weekend, have a great week, and if you're going to Evolve next week, week after next. I will see you then. Have a good one. See you later.